Heartland Season 19, Episode 1 has finally arrived, and it is everything we hoped for and feared at the same time. The title itself, The End, is enough to shake us to the core. The episode begins by focusing heavily on the chaos surrounding Amy and Nathan's relationship, and the storm is brewing right from the very first minutes. We see Nathan struggling with the return of his sister, whose presence threatens to destroy not only his peace, but also his romance with Amy. In Season 18, she arrived suddenly, made her intentions clear, and showed us all that she wasn't someone to be underestimated. Now, in the Season 19 premiere, she is more determined than ever to take control, and she is willing to risk everything for her own benefit. What makes this even more heartbreaking is that Nathan desperately tries to hold things together. He is caught between protecting Amy, honoring his family, and keeping his business afloat. But the weight of these responsibilities is crushing him. For Amy, this means constantly questioning if she can trust Nathan to stand by her side when his loyalty is constantly tested by blood ties and family duty. Their romance, which should have been about healing and starting fresh, is instead poisoned by endless conflict. To make matters worse, Lou sees the threat coming from miles away and refuses to stay silent. She openly challenges Nathan's sister, even if it means sabotaging Amy's happiness. Her stance is clear. The ranch comes first, no matter who gets hurt in the process. It is an impossible situation where love and loyalty clash head-on, and the sad reality is that Amy and Nathan may not survive this storm together. Watching Amy silently wrestle with her emotions is painful, because deep down, she knows she has already lost someone she loved with her whole heart, Ty. His memory lingers like a shadow over every choice she makes. The fear of losing again is paralyzing her, and as the premiere shows, Amy is not just fighting for a romance, she is fighting her own trauma, her own doubts, and her own fragile hope. Nathan feels this weight too, constantly compared to Ty in Amy's eyes and in his own mind. His frustration boils over, and we see his insecurities surface in unexpected ways. He lashes out at Caleb, pointing out that they both live in the shadow of a man they can never replace. The painful truth is that no one will ever fill Ty's place. Not Nathan, not Caleb, and not anyone else. And this realization makes every step of Amy and Nathan's journey together more fragile, more uncertain, and more tragic. The episode sets up their story with raw emotion and heartbreak, making us question if this really is the beginning of the end for Amy's chance at love. As the premiere unfolds, the true weight of Nathan's sister's schemes begins to reveal itself, and it becomes crystal clear that her arrival is not just a personal matter, it's a direct attack on the stability of Heartland Ranch itself. Her ambitions collide violently with Amy's world, and for the first time, we see Amy forced into a corner where her personal happiness and her family's survival cannot coexist. Nathan desperately tries to reason with her, pleading for some middle ground, but her stubbornness and selfishness leave no room for compromise. The premiere paints her not as a misunderstood sibling, but as a calculated rival who thrives on control and manipulation. And this is where Lou steps in with unflinching resolve. She takes matters into her own hands, even openly admitting that she knows her actions could cost Amy her romance with Nathan. Yet Lou's conviction is chilling in its clarity. She believes the ranch, the legacy of their family, is worth any sacrifice, even if it breaks Amy's heart. This cold determination brings a sense of betrayal, because Lou is not just Amy's sister. She is also one of the few people Amy should be able to rely on in her darkest times. Instead, Amy finds herself caught between two siblings, one tied to Nathan and one tied to her own blood, both willing to make ruthless choices for what they believe is right. The tension escalates further when Nathan himself begins to unravel under the weight of these conflicts. His attempts to shield Amy and her family from his sister's destructive actions lead to a brutal confrontation that sets the stage for heartbreak. The premiere makes it painfully clear that Nathan is willing to fight for Amy. But the question remains, will it ever be enough? Can love survive when every move feels like a battle on multiple fronts? But the external conflicts are only part of the story. The emotional wounds inside Amy run even deeper. Her grief for Ty remains a haunting presence, and episode 1 forces her to confront the raw reality of how unhealed those scars still are. Every moment she shares with Nathan is colored by fear, the constant dread that opening her heart again will only bring more loss. In one gut-wrenching sequence, Amy reflects on her past and realizes that no matter how much she wants to move forward, Ty's absence continues to define her. This inner struggle makes her romance with Nathan fragile, like glass on the edge of shattering. Nathan senses it too, and his insecurity becomes a silent enemy in their relationship. He cannot shake the idea that he will always be second best, a replacement in a love story that ended tragically and can never be rewritten. The premiere highlights this by pushing Nathan to his breaking point, showing us a side of him that is not calm or steady, but angry and vulnerable. His lashing out at Caleb is more than just frustration. It is the eruption of a man who feels trapped in someone else's shadow, fighting a battle he cannot win. And as Caleb listens, the painful truth lingers in the air. Ty is gone, but his presence is still shaping every decision, every romance, and every heartbreak in Heartland. The result is a gripping, emotional storm that makes this episode feel less like a new beginning and more like the unraveling of everything Amy has been holding together. While Amy and Nathan's romance takes center stage in the emotional storm of the premiere, the episode wastes no time reminding us that Heartland is not just about love, it is also about family, heritage, and survival. And no one embodies those themes more than Jack. From the very first moment we see him in episode 1, there is a sense of unease, as though something is hanging over his head, waiting to strike. The trailer hinted at it with his vandalized car, but the premiere confirms our worst fears. Jack has been targeted, and this is not some random act of mischief. The damage to his truck is not just a physical attack, it is symbolic, a direct message that Jack's world is about to be shaken in ways we have never seen before. The truck has always been an extension of Jack himself, a part of his daily life and a symbol of his quiet strength. Seeing it destroyed feels like seeing Jack himself under threat, and the moment carries a weight that cannot be ignored. This event triggers a ripple effect throughout the family, because if Jack is vulnerable, then everyone is vulnerable. What makes this even more alarming is how Jack responds to it. Instead of showing his usual unbreakable resilience, the episode reveals cracks in his armor. He tries to brush it off, tries to act like it doesn't bother him, but those close to him, especially Amy and Lou, can see the toll it is taking. There's a heaviness in Jack's demeanor, a quiet worry that he cannot hide no matter how hard he tries. It is here that the premiere plants the most chilling question of all. Is Jack's health failing? The hospital scene that flashes across the screen only deepens this suspicion. At first glance, it appears that Jack and Lindy are there for a horse, perhaps another classic case of Heartland stepping in to heal an injured animal. But the placement of this scene feels intentional, almost deceptive, as though the writers are daring us to look closer. Why show Jack in a hospital at all if there isn't more to the story? The way the camera lingers on him, the way Lindy clings to his side, it all feels like a quiet warning that something serious is coming. And Lindy's role in this storyline cannot be overlooked. As Amy's daughter, she represents the next generation of Heartland, the bridge between the past and the future. In episode 1, she senses the fear around her, and it manifests in heartbreaking ways. Her worry about losing her mother bleeds into her interactions with Jack, almost as though she instinctively knows that change is coming and that it may not be kind. The writers skillfully use Lindy's perspective to amplify the tension, because when a child senses danger, it makes the audience feel that danger even more deeply. Lindy's fears are not random. They are reflections of the cracks beginning to form in the family's foundation. And if Jack's health is truly at risk, then Lindy's world will never be the same again. The vandalism incident also sets off a chain of conflict outside the family. Jack's enemies, or perhaps rivals, are never explicitly named in episode 1, but the threat is real. The attack on his truck feels personal, calculated, and deliberate. It is not the work of someone reckless. It is the work of someone who wants to send a message. And Jack, who has always been the backbone of the ranch, now finds himself in a position where he must defend not just the land, but his very sense of safety. This storyline introduces a darker, more dangerous element to Season 19, reminding us that Heartland is not immune to threats from the outside world. The question becomes, who would dare go after Jack, and what do they want? Is this connected to Nathan's sister's schemes, or is it an entirely separate storm waiting to explode? Through all of this, the premiere balances suspense with heartbreak. Jack's quiet moments with Amy stand out as some of the most emotional scenes of the episode. He tries to reassure her, to play the role of the strong protector, but Amy can see the weariness in his eyes. She knows something is wrong, even if he refuses to admit it. The bond between grandfather and granddaughter has always been unshakable, but here it takes on a haunting quality, as though they are both preparing for a future that may not include him. For longtime fans, these moments are almost unbearable to watch, because the thought of losing Jack, the heart and soul of Heartland, is simply unimaginable. Yet the premiere dares to ask that terrifying question, what happens to Heartland if Jack is no longer there to guide them? As the episode moves forward, the suspense only deepens. Jack's vandalized truck becomes more than just a mystery. It becomes a metaphor for the season itself. Something is broken, something is under attack, and fixing it will not be easy. The family is rattled, the ranch is vulnerable, and the sense of security they once had has been shattered. For Amy, this adds yet another layer of fear to her already fragile state. She is fighting for her romance, for her family, and now for the very stability of the home that has always been her sanctuary. And with Jack standing at the center of it all, the tension builds to a point where the audience cannot help but brace themselves for tragedy. The premiere leaves us with the sinking realization that the end may not just be about Amy and Nathan. It could be about Jack, about Heartland, and about the life they have all fought so hard to protect. Just when the weight of Amy's struggles and Jack's looming fate feels almost unbearable, the premiere introduces a completely different atmosphere. The vibrant Indian wedding. At first glance, this shift feels like a breath of fresh air, bright colors, joyful music, and a sense of celebration that contrasts sharply with the shadows hanging over the family. But in true Heartland fashion, nothing is ever as simple as it seems. This wedding is not just a happy distraction. It is laced with questions, mysteries, and connections that could reshape the season moving forward. We already knew from behind-the-scenes whispers that Gurgi would be returning this season, and Episode 1 plants those seeds firmly. The wedding scenes are filled with hints that she is at the center of it all. The way the camera lingers on her, the way conversations pause whenever she's mentioned, it feels like the writers are teasing us, daring us to piece the puzzle together. If Gurgi is truly the bride, then the question of Quinn immediately crashes into the storyline like a storm. Where is he? What happened to their relationship? Has she truly moved on, or is there more drama lurking beneath the surface? The brilliance of this subplot is how it mirrors the chaos in Amy's world. On one side, we see Amy and Nathan crumbling under the weight of betrayal, loss, and impossible choices. On the other, we see a wedding that should represent new beginnings, joy, and love, but instead, it is clouded by unanswered questions and uneasy silences. The juxtaposition is striking. Even in a setting meant for celebration, the tension is impossible to ignore. The writers use this wedding not as a relief from the drama, but as another stage for it. Every glance, every whispered conversation feels loaded with meaning, as though the happiness of the moment is just a mask for something darker beneath. What makes this even more compelling is how the family reacts to the wedding. Lou, who has already been positioned as the ruthless protector of the ranch, observes it with a sharp eye. For her, this event isn't just about love, it's about alliances, about connections that could impact the ranch's future. Nathan, on the other hand, is visibly distracted, torn between his crumbling relationship with Amy and the chaos his sister has unleashed. His inability to focus fully on the joy of the moment is telling, a clear sign that he is slipping further into turmoil. And then there's Amy, whose presence at the wedding is heartbreaking to watch. Surrounded by laughter and love, she cannot help but feel the emptiness in her own heart. Ty's memory lingers here too, making every vow, every romantic gesture a painful reminder of what she lost and what she may never fully have again. The episode also uses this wedding to expand the world of Heartland, introducing us to new characters and cultures in a way that feels both refreshing and suspenseful. The vibrant ceremonies, the stunning outfits, the rituals, it all feels authentic and rich, yet it is layered with tension because of how it connects back to the main storylines. Who the groom is remains deliberately unclear, adding to the suspense. Is he someone tied to the ranch? Someone with connections to Nathan's sister, perhaps? Or is he a new character entirely, one whose arrival will disrupt the already fragile balance in the Heartland universe? The lack of answers only deepens the intrigue, making the wedding feel less like a celebration and more like the start of another storm. And let's not forget the timing of this wedding. The fact that it takes place in the premiere episode titled The End feels intentional. Weddings are usually associated with beginnings, with new chapters and hopeful futures. But here, in the shadow of Amy's unraveling romance and Jack's mysterious struggles, the wedding feels almost ironic. It is as if the writers are reminding us that not all beginnings are happy, and not all celebrations are free from pain. In fact, this wedding may mark the beginning of the end for certain relationships, certain dreams, and certain assumptions we've held about the future of these characters. The premiere masterfully weaves the wedding storyline into the larger narrative, showing us that even moments of joy cannot escape the darkness that hovers over Season 19. Gurgi's rumored marriage raises more questions than answers. Lou's determination to protect the ranch casts a shadow over Amy's happiness, and Nathan's insecurities continue to spiral. Every thread connects back to the central theme of the premiere. Nothing is safe, nothing is certain, and everything we love about Heartland is hanging by a thread. By the time the wedding scenes fade, we are left with more suspense than relief. The laughter and music echo in the background, but for the audience, the only sound that lingers is the question, who is truly winning in this game of love, loyalty, and sacrifice, and who is about to lose it all? By the time Episode 1 reaches its conclusion, the audience is left reeling from the sheer intensity of everything that has unfolded. The title, The End, begins to feel less like a metaphor and more like a chilling warning. Amy and Nathan's romance, which once seemed like a beacon of hope after years of heartbreak, is now hanging by a thread. Jack, the unshakable foundation of the family, is suddenly vulnerable in ways we have never seen. And the vibrant Indian wedding, which should have been a celebration of love, instead feels like the beginning of more questions, more mysteries, and more storms. The premiere delivers all of this in a way that is relentless, refusing to give the audience even a moment to catch their breath. Every storyline feels connected, every character's fate feels uncertain, and the looming sense of finality haunts every frame. For Amy and Nathan, the episode ends in a place of painful uncertainty. Their fights with each other, their battles with Nathan's sister, and their individual struggles with Ty's memory all build to a climax where neither of them can fully commit to the future. Amy's fear of loss is so overwhelming that she cannot bring herself to trust completely. Nathan's insecurity, his feeling of being forever compared to Ty, pushes him toward anger and defensiveness instead of reassurance. And then, there's the shadow of Lou, whose firm stance on protecting the ranch leaves Amy feeling even more isolated. It becomes brutally clear that while Amy and Nathan love each other, love alone may not be enough. In fact, the premiere dares to suggest that their relationship might already be doomed, that the end is not just a title, but a prophecy for them as a couple.